on this computer. Okay, so welcome to our session, which is Leadership Essence and What We Run. I know you were thinking of like, oh, is this a GV session? So I'll explain to you what are the objectives of this session. So our session objectives are the following. So just three things. First is to understand the role you need to play with what is happening internally and externally. Also understand the role you have to play in risk mitigation of global volunteer. And third is identify other ways to deliver leadership experiences in the entity. So those are the three objectives that we will work on this session. And I hope that within this session, I expect you to have an open mind and heart, to have this big picture thinking, to be proactive rather than reactive, and to also focus on things we can control. Okay, is that okay? So can I just get a thumbs up from all of you guys? Okay, great, great. Okay, so first of all, I'd like to introduce myself. So you might be wondering, who is this person? Who is this person I'm talking to, right? So my name is Fatima Malate, but people or I'm used to being called Ima for short. I'm currently the MCP of Isaac in the Philippines, current. And sorry, if you wanna follow me, you can follow me via Instagram. What's that? At Ima Malate. Okay. So a bit of myself. So I just want like maybe a few introduction like questions. How many years do you think I've been part of the organization? So maybe just through the chat you can say it and like mention it. 5, okay. Okay, 6, 4, okay. What else? Others have a guess? 3. Okay. So actually, I've been 4.5 years in the org. So I started joining 2016, and yeah, half of the year that was actually around June, July. And yeah. Okay, next question. What do you think was my department in the last 4 years of my ISEC journey? Can you guess? What do you think was my department? Okay. IGV. Okay, OGV, IGV, OGV. No one would guess TM. Don't you think I'm like a finance person or a TM person? Okay, actually, you guys are right. So I'm actually part of OGX. So I've been in the OGX function throughout my entire ISEC journey. And yes, look where we are right now. So I started being LCVP OGX. And then I became LCP. And then after that, I applied for MCVP OGX. And then now I'm MCP. So yes. Okay. Okay, this one. Guess what is my college course or university course? What do you think is my course? Finance, business, okay. Other guesses? Science, wow. Okay, guys, I'm so flattered. Okay. Okay. Rainbow got it right. I'm actually psych major. So I'm a psychology major and oh, that's nice. I love psychology. I've been interested into so I've been interested really like studying human behavior ever since before college. So when I got into college, like I've been super into it and I loved my course really. And it helps me now like really as a leader. And last question that I have is before ISEC, what do you think was I into? Like was I into let's say sports or let's say other things. So what do you think? Do you think I was into maybe what do you call this, dancing, or maybe I was into painting, going on trips, okay, volunteering, okay, singing, okay, okay, singing, really? Okay, yeah, I was into singing and performing before I joined ISEC. So one of the like main things that I did was I actually went to South Africa and India way back, like before I joined ISEC, to sing and actually perform there. So that was one of the key highlights before I joined ISEC. And now, it's I don't sing. it's like it's like just my pastime. Okay, so now let's do of course check-in. Of course I wanna ground you of what you are experiencing now, given also the global direction. So my first check-in question is what excites or scares you the most about change management? So I want you to go to slido.com event code, and with that, you will see the first question, which is this. So, what excites you or what scares you the most about change management? Yes. Just go to 90, 60, 50, and then we'll be able to, um, yes, see what your thoughts are. Okay. Okay. So that's 90, 60, 50. Okay. Okay. You feel uncertain. Okay. Scared of the membership experiences. What else? No more physical communication. Okay, that's true. What else? What else do you think? Okay, no big impact. Uncertainties. Okay, what else? I'm expecting to have at least 10 people. Okay, uncertainties. Five more to answer. Go, guys. What do you think? Okay, uncertainties. Okay. Any other? None? You can chat it if like you are also having a hard time in filling it up. Okay, the next question that I have is next. What are the initiatives you've been running in GV now? So are you still like in the level of still working on, still exchanges, or are you working on different initiatives right now? So what are you working on? So just that I can have like a sensing. Okay, local virtual volunteer. What else? Okay. What else? Okay, virtual projects. Okay. Local volunteer. Okay. Is the local volunteer physical or is it virtual still? Okay, virtual leadership class. That's nice. Maintenance and local project. Okay. Great. Okay, so I think it's good to actually see like different initiatives that we're working on now aside from, let's say, like really trying to work for GV. I'll explain in detail more like what's happening in the global level so that you get to understand it even more. So thank you for that. Uh-huh. Okay. So, I'll present to you first the global volunteer current context right now. So, in terms of the overall Asia Pacific, you already know that before you can run GV, you have to actually go through or process the OGV conditions or like the GV conditions. So in OGV, among all the 21 entities that are present in the Asia or in the region, only six were able to accomplish like the 100%, while there are still entities that have been in the 0 to 30, 31 to 50, and yeah, so those percentage. So you can check the source if you want to know more about it. While on the IGV part, we there are five entities that have been already in the 181 to 100%, and there are still a few that are still in the 0 to 30, 31 to 50, and 51 to 80. Um, on the other hand, these are the entities that are working on GV. So they are the ones who really sent or informed both AI and RO that we are running GV. So among the 21 entities, there are seven entities that have proactively mentioned that they're running, and among the seven GV entities, only four actually are still in the 81 to 100, and there are three entities that haven't still fulfilled the OGV condition. So if you're wondering if that's your entity, make sure that you have this conversation with your MCVP so that you are aware if you guys are following the conditions or not. While on the IGV side, I think there's only one. So among all the 21 entities, there are six entities that are working on IGV conditions, but there is just one that haven't really fulfilled the conditions. So congratulations, I guess, to those entities that really fulfilled the GV conditions, because that is a non-negotiable. So with this, I'd also want to share with you the number, or at least like what do you call this, the funnel that we have, the performance funnel that we have in the whole Asia Pacific region. So if you can see, what do you notice in the funnel? What is something that you are noticing? Can I get like just via chat, or you can just unmute yourself? What are you seeing? What is weird in this funnel? Anyone? Okay, I have one chat. Low conversion rate. Okay, realization number. Okay, so I think Rainbow got it right. So if you can see here, in terms of both IGV and OGV, the conversion rate is really low, and that was something that Natalie was able to mention. So both where is that? There. Both the approval and the conversion rate, if you can see, we have 452 approvals, while on the realizations, that's actually zero. And if you can see on the OGV side, that's approvals is actually 358, while on the realization side, it's still very low. I think that's even less than 10% of the conversion rate. And with that, AP approval spending to be realized, that means the value at risk is actually about 97k euros, 97,000 euros. So that is really a big problem that majority, or like a lot of the regions are facing now, or even all regions are facing now. And so with this, definitely we have to actually think of how we can mitigate the risks, because if this continues to happen, there are a lot of risks that are open, right? So, at the same time, if you can also see here, the number of break approvals from the AP region. So if you can see, so we have 21 entities, right? So among the 21 entities, 1 to 50 break approvals, 17 of the different entities. While there are also other entities that have break approvals that are 50 to 100, 100 to 150, and even 150 to 200, and that gives us a total of 541 break approvals in the region. So that is really alarming, and if we continue running GV, then there would be a lot of risks, right, that would be present as a region and even within your own entity. So, with this, I want to kind of like really just discuss this with you, and maybe if you have like any questions or yeah, concerns, you can just raise your hand so that I can, address your questions. So, there are a lot of risks that we face in running the product. First is, of course, with the current situation now, definitely health and safety risks are present. Second is also legal risks. So we are also having a problem with regards to the visa wise, and if like which entity is even open, or like which country is open to receiving different nationalities, right? So another thing is also brand. So given that if we run this, definitely there are also possible risk outcomes that we are not sure if what will happen. And last but not the least is really financial risks. So there are a lot of risks that are happening right now, and definitely we have to work on different ways to mitigate those risks. And now I will be presenting to you the GV direction globally. So the current recommendation is not to run the product due to the risk I mentioned earlier. So because really the product now is in an unsustainable position and it's definitely risky, AI and RO is recommending not to run it. And I would just want to again maybe clarify that this direction has been put ever since May, and this is not a new direction. So we're just over communicating to you that this is not a new direction, but rather it's just over communicating that still as of the moment, AI and RO does not recommend entities to run GV due to the risk that we mentioned earlier. So you might be wondering, Ima, what are risks? Like, what do you mean? What does risks mean? So risk is an exposure to a potential event expressed in terms of risk sources for the event and also consequences of the event and associated probability of the occurrence of the event. So basically, risk is an event that is kind of let's say, dangerous, that could possibly harm, let's say, our own, let's say, self, or even the entity, or even the region, right? So, if you are wondering how does risk happen and like what's like the flow of it, risk event is the first step. So there is possibly like an event, no, that risks of risks rather. And then risk outcomes are, in every risk event there is an outcome to it. So there are many possible outcomes in a certain risk event, and each of the different risks actually comes from one source or more sources from an event. So, just to clear out this, like to just fully illustrate what this means. So, for example, the risk event is like when you, let's say, push for realizations, or that when the EP gets realized, let's say, the EP gets COVID because of, let's say, not following certain, let's say, policies or something like that, or rules. And possibly also the risk outcomes could be death of an EP, or possibly getting stuck for months in the hosting entity. And the risk source is actually the pandemic, right? So another example is entity losing potential revenues. So the risk outcome is financial loss, and the risk source is actually break approvals. So um, with this, definitely we have to be again able to mitigate the risks. So the different risk outcomes that we have in those different risk sources that I presented earlier, like financial risk and legal risk and so on and so forth, are these different things. So your EP could be getting COVID-19, and potentially worst case scenario could be potential death. Getting stuck in the hosting entity could also be a potential risk outcome. Also, reputation loss, like if someone dies due to the negligence of whichever entity, both hosting or, let's say, the sending entity, then definitely there would be, like a reputational loss, a brand risk that might potentially happen. And of course, last but not the least, is really financial loss or disbandment of the entity. So, earlier I kind of mentioned with you what are the different risks, right? So risk sources rather. So there are different risk sources, and these risk sources are like political or regulatory. It could also be economic, social, it could be cyber, legal risk, environmental, so on and so forth. So, at the first part of this session, I would want you to actually manage the risks. So, I have some sort of like uh, later I'll be presenting to you like the, what do you call this, the sheet that I have in order for you to work together in one team and kind of like figure out, okay, what are the risks that are potential in continuing, let's say, running GV, and what happens, like how do we manage the risks. So risk management is to reduce the impact of the outcomes and the probability of the occurrence of the risk event. So you, as much as possible, what we want to happen is to minimize any adverse outcomes in our day-to-day operations, as well as make decisions with the lowest risks. So within the next activity, what I want you to work on is to kind of review. So I'll send you the link. So okay, so this one, as you can go to bit.ly risk management GV, and then with that, sorry, I'll just send it here. And then with that, what I want you to do is to look into the different risk. Okay, so in this tab you will see risk identification and assessment register, right? So I've already identified some sort of different risks that are available, but if you have more than that, then you're free to kind of like add more things here. And also the different assessments. So what is the probability rating of this risk happening, and at the same time also the impact. And from that you'll be able to get a risk evaluation. So you might be wondering also, what is this thing that I'm talking about? So if you can see, there's the impact and also the likelihood of, or the probability. So you just have to rate like the likelihood of this um risk happening. So is it rare, possible, or frequent? And what is the impact? Is it minor, moderate, and significant? And from that, you'll be able to rate. Is it from 1 to 3, or 1 to 9? And then from that, you'll be able to also understand what will be the risk response that you will have to do. So earlier I presented to you like the risk response. So either it's transfer, avoid, reduce and mitigate, or accept. So with that, basically just the activity is about you having like a response strategy in the different examples that I put. So for example, one example that I put is this. So international travel ban, Facebook channel ban, filed a legal case against ISEC, EP getting COVID, and entity losing potential revenues. And so with that, what I just want you to do is to have a risk mitigation register with your part, like with your group mates, and then also identify like what are the necessary steps that you have to do in order to prevent that from happening, and who is responsible, who should be accountable, who should you consult to, and who should you inform. So these are like the kind of like the minimum thing that I want you to work on with your group mate. And you can just choose like, is it your LCP, is it the EP, is it the EP's parents, or is it like your MC or your MC team, or so on and so forth. And then later we'll have some sort of like a sharing space just for you to kind of also debrief or like share what has happened in your risk management part. So is the instructions clear, or do you have questions in terms of how to work on the work on the the activity? Assign. Wait, okay. So I'll have 5 breakout rooms. So we have a total of, yeah, 3 to 4 people per what do you call this? 7, 6. Yeah, okay. So yes. So I'll assign you to breakout rooms, and then after, let's say, 7 minutes, I'll give you back here, and then we'll discuss and share those different things. Okay, so I'll create, and then I'll open all the rooms. Again. So, BD initiatives that could potentially cover, no, or like replace or alternative for like GV things, and at the same time engagement with ISEC initiatives, which are also present to the ones that you've mentioned earlier. However, I guess you have to remember that you have to be able to comply to the policies within the engagement with ISEC initiatives, because, for example, last night, AI has already mentioned that local volunteer is actually a dormant product because of the fact that GV is also currently not run. But if you have like a different way of running those things, most possibly you can name it like a different name because it has a different value proposition, and I feel like that's a better way forward instead of like naming it and branding it as a local volunteer, which in the AI level it's not even considered as a product to be run, or not a recommended product to run. So again, just over communicating this, that we are not shutting down the product but making the product dormant because again of the different or the reality that we're facing in now. So task after the session is that I want you to talk with your MCVPs with the direction of GV in your entity, and together with your members identify existing or potential risk you have in your entity, then decide on a response strategy and develop mitigation plans on identified risks. So you may also check this tool for the activity. So really good that you would be able to bring back this session, so that in a way all your learnings here won't be forgotten. So for the next part of the session, I'd like to kind of share with you one organization that I feel like was able to um kind of I'd say pivot in terms of the current scenario. So Make Sense is a known organization in the country right now, but they're also present in other countries like France and so on and so forth. Just to kind of like share a bit of what Make Sense is all about. So Make Sense was born in 2010 of an idea that what if citizens could help entrepreneurs to develop their ecological and social projects, and what if students can contribute to it. So basically Make Sense want to empower everyone to act and mobilize around them to ultimately make society a more sustainable to make society more sustainable and inclusive. So in a way, the Make Sense model guides people from inaction to activism. So you know how there are certain things that, for example, they were able to identify common pains of like the youth. So for example, youth doesn't want to volunteer when it's too long, right? And there's too many tasks. So what they do is that they shorten tasks and make it feasible that any youth who has like loads of let's say workload in academics could potentially still give back or like work on certain things in the organization, or at least to help the people there. So they really guide people from inaction to activism and gives everyone the means to invent new ways of doing and being. So basically, if you would also want to know more about it, like their reference is more on the OECD Learning Compass. So you can just search that. You can also go to their website. I have the link also, so you can check it out. So the different programs that they have are these different things. So they have for citizens, for entrepreneurs, and also for organizations. But I think for us, what fits more is more on the citizens part, because these are where they engage the, let's say, the young people more. So if you notice here, like they are present in Mexico, they're also present in Beirut, they are present in Paris, they're present in Lima, Dakar, and Abidjan, and they have already were able to engage 200 citizens in across 45 countries and 100 cities around the globe. So they started just from an idea wherein they wanted to really engage everyone and really support social entrepreneurs. And with that, with the current situation now, they were able to actually make what they do from physical to online. So with the lockdown, they started different initiatives like Reaction, which I also share later on. It's a citizen mobilization program to help on the front lines all over the world. And in a way, they've already also celebrated the 10th anniversary. So here is what makes sense like Reaction is all about. And I'll share with you a video so that you can kind of like understand what they do.
Hi, it's Pepper from Make Sense. A few weeks ago, when the crisis struck, we came up with a few questions. How can we help the people who are in most need right now? How do we support vulnerable families in our city to make sure they get transportation, food, and water? How can we reach out to those who need mental health support? How can we support farmers? How can we take care of our caregivers who are on the front lines of this crisis?
De médicaments, on manque de matériel, on manque de masques, on manque de surblouses.
Convinced that even offline and confined, we can take collective and individual action through digital tools. We thought it was time to shift our organization, and that's when we created Reaction. With this program, our goal is to promote concrete action in the face of the coronavirus pandemic.
Make Sense has recently launched an online emergency response.
So, how does this work? During the first week, trained Make Sense community organizers guide groups of 15 participants. Daily emails with call to actions and virtual check-ins provide support for our 5,000 volunteers so they can rapidly take action and help.
Me as a development studies student, I love seeing this kind of impact.
We're never alone at Make Sense. They follow 3 main steps that are the basis for their approach. Learn. Participants understand the needs of the most vulnerable. Create. Now it's time to create action and implement solutions.
Also organized a concert.
Transform. Then they propose actions that are not yet in the program or become an organizer for the next cohort.
It has been really nice because I get to reconnect with people.
By doing so, we hope to build a chain of solidarity that will grow faster than the virus itself. We can all take action. We're also hoping that the local communities that we help will stay connected globally so that they can keep being inspired by the best solutions out there. The program has started in France, but has already expanded in the UK, Mexico, Peru, Belgium, the US, and here in the Philippines.
Networks and platforms such as this volunteer program exists to help you help others.
The work we're doing really matters because we take the best solutions of nonprofit and put them in the hands of citizens, allowing them to replicate that every day. By doing so, citizens become conscious of their own capabilities and trust that they can make a change. change. They don't only solve problems and answer current needs, but also build resilience in their own community to make sure they can face not only this crisis, but the next ones that may come. We have to stick together. Alone, we can go fast, but together, we can go further. Join the movement.
Okay, so that's it. And definitely like it was really, I guess, I think amazing that they were able to kind of shift from the physical setup to the virtual setup and really engage like more than 1,000 young people to support different small businesses or like small organizations to support, I guess, people that were in need or in the front lines. So with that, wait, okay, stop. So with that, I think connecting it to what ISEC is, ISEC Global Volunteer is that we have to ask ourselves or like really evaluate what does ISEC mean to be known for or like where do we want to be best at. So sometimes definitely like a lot of us are still more let's say connected or like attached to the idea of exchange. But really, with the current situation, is it what ISEC needs to be known for as of the moment, or is it something that we can actually apply or like even do, or maybe just really ask ourselves how can we best engage like the network that we have and help more communities in the country or in the societies that we're currently partnered with. And I think that could be like one of the best things that ISEC can do where there's really impact. So with this, also I think trying to connect what Eva also mentioned about what ISEC really means is that it doesn't just mean that ISEC is SDGs or like internships. ISEC is not that, but really the essence of ISEC is youth leadership development. So at the end of the day, what ISEC means to be known for is really leadership development, and that is what we are trying to do with all the touch points that we have. So whatever we try to do, whatever we strive to be best at, we want to develop good leaders for society, and we want um those different things, the values that we have and even the qualities that we'll have to be embedded in these people so that in a way they can provide impact in their communities. And so with this, I want to ask you this question: what are the alternative ways, focusing on things we can control, that we can still deliver leadership experiences? So with this is just kind of like maybe a 10-minute activity wherein you can also generate ideas together that could potentially solve different issues that you see within your community or let's say in the organization. So these are the different questions that I just want you to look into. Which problems are you trying to address? Why does this problem exist, and then also formulate the problem under the form of a question: how might we? And then who is your beneficiary? How does this problem solve your problem, the problem that you've identified, and what are the strengths of the solution or your competitive advantage? So I think with the amount of time you can be able to kind of work on these different things. So with this, I'll also bring back you again to the same breakout room, and then after that, after the 10-minute mark, you can already be able to go back and kind of just also share what you were able to identify as a group. Okay, so you can go to this and then just make a copy because there, because you can just make a copy of that, and then that's where you can put like the different problems that you recently identify in your country, and then or maybe in the society that you live, and then create different solutions to it. So I'll open the rooms, and then again you will have, wait, I will move you to room 3 and then also move to room 3. There, I'll open the rooms. See you later. Okay, one. And then I'm not sure if like I am, there you go. There. we seek to understand the needs of the youth, because I think we won't be like a leadership organization or like a youth leadership organization if we aren't able to really solve the needs or like the problems that the youth are facing today. And with that also, it's kind of like really being able to understand the IWA principles, because it's very important to be grounded and to really follow like be there for like, let's say, the different principles and like the governance structure of ISEC. And COVID-19 might have affected the world and our region, but we can't allow ourselves to get stuck just because of an obstacle. I think we can do so much more, and just focus on things that are within our controls. And that means like our mindset, the way we treat others, our wellness, how we respond to the problems at hand, and how we take these obstacles as opportunities to improve and deliver the essence of ISEC. Because those government policies, countries opening and closing borders, the number of COVID-19 cases, and what other people think or our members feel, think, and do, these are things that are outside of our control. So we just need to focus on those things that are within our control. And I think with that, focusing in what we are what's within our control allows us to be more creative, thinkers and doers. So I think we are more creative thinkers and doers than we think we are. And we're just kind of like belittling ourselves with what we're capable of doing. And to end, I think at the end of the day, really what we're trying to do is our essence is leadership. So I hope that you don't forget that, despite the fact that we are deprioritizing or making the product dormant, I think at the end of the day, what the essence of ISEC is really just about leadership. So that is how I will end this session, and I hope you learned something from this. Don't forget to create or have these conversations out of this space, especially having the risk mitigation plans with your teams, and at the same time also having this brainstorming space with your members in terms of what you can do to solve the problems that you're facing inside or inside your country or inside your communities. So I guess that's it. Thank you very much, and yeah, thank you everyone. Okay.